This is LTV.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank, create success, enterprisebanking.com.
Hello and welcome to Inside Leominster. My name is Dean Mazzarella, Mayor, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're live as we are each and every Thursday afternoon. In case you didn't get the message, the principals from the Fairgrounds project asked to be rescheduled. They would like to get in front of the City Council soon so they can make a presentation, and I said, that's fine. Whatever it is, I'm just trying to get the information out to the community. And whether you agree with it or not, get it out to you. And right now, it's pretty much it's hard to get anything right now. And that's not unlike most information today. It goes in the. I was reading a post about Costco, and I'm reading stuff. I'm like, it's stuff people posted about me. I'm like, my involvement, like, they're not coming if they don't get a gas. The mayor screwed up the gas station deal. I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I have never had a conversation about a gas station at Costco. It never ever came up. Now, here I am, I'm the source. I would know if somehow or another I was involved in some conversation with Costco. So, it starts off with, what's the recipe, your best recipe for apple pie? And then it goes to Venus and Mars, and it comes back, and we start talking. So anyway, we're just trying to get the information out there for you. Yeah, and so but we have really great guests today. We'll be talking about something else that is extremely important that we live with every single day of the week, and that's the impacts of the closure of the Nashoba Hospital. And you might think, well, how does that impact us? Well, one visit to the hospital will tell you that. But how does it affect our EMS system? And you'll get a chance to call in if you want to ask some questions about that. But right now, we go to the famous, the one and only, that's right, Art from the Art Report. Art, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. In fact, tomorrow, actually Monday, I'll be taking a leave of absence from LATV.
Why?
I'll be setting up a move to Framingham. I'm going to be very busy. Very, very busy. But I will call after I get that.
Once you settle in.
Stuff done.
Yep.
I'll be calling from the ham.
Well, if you don't, we'll seek you out. We'll track you down.
Well, that's it. I figured it'd be, I don't need to. I get in enough trouble on my own.
You gotta stop it.
Today, I don't think I've ever come so close to having a head-on collision. The other person was on the phone, and I'll tell you, in the wrong lane.
Yikes.
And this is in moving traffic, and I got on my horn, and I luckily had room and woke that person up. Boy, I'll tell you, not good. Not good.
No.
Other than that, it's been a funny spring. I'm calling this spring already. The deer population in North Leominster seems to have grown tremendous.
This is bothering me that I'm not in the center of something. I don't know what it is. Here, I'm going to try to fix this thing.
I've never seen so many running around my yard, and of course they leave their calling card.
I fixed it the wrong way.
Looks like Raisinets.
Yeah, well, you're moving out to the big city now, so.
Well, no, actually, it's a lot like Leominster.
No, I know, and you got to stop. You got to stop by and see my buddy the mayor out there. He's a good guy. You'll like him. He's a regular, just a good guy. You'll be thrilled.
My daughter said they're pleased with him.
Yeah.
They had the last one didn't work out at all, but this is seems to be working out quite well.
No, he's just a native, good guy, just trying to do all the right things. Yep.
Yep. And I had a pleasant experience last week. I was invited to the my grandson's high school for lunch, and it was wonderful.
You must have been like a rock star.
Yeah, yeah, but it was good. It was good. It was packed, big cafeteria, and well done by all. Well done by all. And I'm glad to see that spring is here. The city's looking good, and there's construction going on everywhere. That's a good sign for the economy.
Yep.
So Leominster, #1 in my book. It always will be. Born and raised, North Main Street.
I know. Well, we'll be out to visit you, and I still think you're coming back some capacity.
Yeah, and golf season's right around the corner. I took the clubs out today. Got to get the body cranking now. So,
well,
having said that, I want to get off in case you got a few hundred callers that want to call in and say hello.
Yes. I wish instead of posting on social media, they would just call here and ask a question, and then we can. But I don't think that's the intention. I think the intention is to have a lot of I don't know. I can't figure it out. We're limited as to how much time we have in life. So we sit here on Thursdays and say, hey, if you have any questions about anything, something you heard, something that's going on, give us a call. And if we can't answer it, we'll get back to you. And we post things. We must have posted, every department in the city posted today about 3 projects that we're working on. There's a hearing April 1st. I'll read it later. I guarantee you, we won't get 5 hits per site, per place. Yet at the end of the project, when we're ready to start the project and equipment shows up, everyone, there'll be posts on social media. It will go hundreds. Will go on forever. And we're like, well, why, I don't understand. We posted it as many places as you possibly. You couldn't miss this? We posted it in so many places. So anyway, that's just life.
It's unbelievable. Sometimes you just people are afraid to do things like that, but once they do it, they like it. Then you can't get rid of them, and that's what we want.
Yep. Well,
it's a good thing.
You can call us here at 534-1626 with the area code of 978 and ask us any question you like.
Communication is very important in all aspects of this particular life at this particular time.
Right.
Including a free buffet that Luke Connery got 12 speeding tickets going to.
Terrible. I hope Luke's listening because he might want to.
Have a good one, my friend.
All right. Take care, Art. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
And just don't remember where your roots are. Planted, right here in the comb capital of the world, 01453, the birthplace of Johnny Appleseed, Buckskin Sam, Tupperware, right? So much more. Yeah, foster grand, sunglasses. We go on forever. But we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. But before we do, I just want to let you know that the Manusnock project. Now, we've had, it's hard to figure it out. I got to admit, this one's tough. We put a copy of the project. We put it on an easel, and it's a tough one to figure out. Like, where is this thing going to do, and where? And but you'll see it coming together. It's going out to bid. Finally, we got it, project out to bid, and so if you know anybody in the construction business, send them to the purchasing department. All information, and our website is really City Hall 24/7. So maybe you don't want to come to City Hall. Maybe you want to find out whatever. How much I paid in real estate taxes, or who owns this, or how do I pay a pocket ticket, or can I pay this bill online? Anything. Go to leominster-me.gov and find out anything you want. People work different hours today. People work different shifts. They're not all 11 to 7, 3 to 6, 3 to 11, 11 to 7, right? Not 8 to 3, 4 to midnight. No. Everybody works different shifts. They sit down, they put the kids to bed, they sit down, it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, City Hall's closed. Need to know something, pay a bill, leominster-ma.gov. And if you're looking for information on what's happening in the city, you can go to It's Happening in Leominster. Be right back at 978-534-1626.
Welcome to Daddy's Pizza, the final place that we're stopping by at the pizza crawl.
Yeah, my name is Carlos Salmon. So this is a family-run business. It's by my dad. My dad is a manager. I just like doing everything here. So we've been doing this. We've been doing like a pizza crawl for like the past 4 years. It gives us more new customers. Like half of the people that come and get pizza crawl, we've never seen them here. And a lot of people, like I think 2 years ago we got like second. Last year we got also second. A lot of people like it. A lot of people come to us and they're like, this is the best pizza we've tasted.
If you look at this slice, it looks very, very nice. There's the cheese and sauce, you can see them like sprinkled together upon it, and I'm excited to try it out. That sauce is phenomenal. It might be my favorite sauce so far. You can really, it just balances very well with a soft cheese and a subtle crust. And the sauce on this pizza is definitely a big standout. It's a great slice. I enjoyed all the places, and I don't think I can stop eating pizza. This is just such a great event. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next time.
Of course he liked to eat pizza. He weighs about 120 pounds. He could eat pizza for the rest of his life and he wouldn't gain a pound. He's like a fine connoisseur, right, Josiah? You're like a fine connoisseur of pizza. You hear him? He's like critiquing the cheese and the crust. I don't know, but pizza's one of those things like coffee. Everybody has their favorite. And it's sauce and cheese, and I guess it's all how you like it, right? So did you have a favorite? Do you want to disclose your favorite, or you feel like you get in trouble if you do? Yeah, he's going to keep that. He's going to keep that to himself. It's a secret. It's a secret. All right, just like the recipe. Anyway, Inside Leominster, we're live this afternoon, 978-534-1626. And yes, so anyway, the fairgrounds people were supposed to be on tonight, but they rescheduled for April. And so if you're watching, it's okay, because we have something just as interesting, right? Something really interesting, because I think when the Nashoba Hospital closed, everyone was trying to figure out, like, well, how does this affect us? Is there any effect on us? And it actually has affected the whole area, not just us. So Rob Pontbriand is the town administrator in Air, Chief Rob Sideleau here in Leominster, and Tim Johnston in Air Fire Department. And welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
But it really has, and full disclosure, Chief and I had this conversation. I said, Chief, you know, everything is data today. We can see everything on that screen. Why don't we come up with a system where we can, if an ambulance is, like today I think we had a call, somebody called in from Lancaster at 400 Mechanic Street for a diabetic reaction or something. Like, sometimes the ambulance is going by, or somebody from EMS is going by, a paramedic. If we know they're there and there's a call, why don't we just send them? Or if, Chief, you're on Route 2, or the EMS is coming back from Worcester, and there's an accident on Route 12 near Route 2, or why don't we just go, you're close, we see it on there, why don't we send them? Well, the chief said, well, we're kind of doing that now. And then the hospital closed, and I'm like, forget that. We're doing that all day long. They closed, the hospital actually closed the last day of August, correct?
Yep, August 31st. It closed.
And I don't know if maybe everybody, you know, anytime anything happens, people react to it and say, oh, this is going to be really bad. This is going to be really, really, really bad. I think we closed the maternity ward. Within 2 weeks, somebody had a baby across from the old landfill. You know,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
becoming a common occurrence, not regular like every day, but
Yeah.
we know it's going to happen on the way to Emerson or Worcester or somewhere. But I don't know them where we're at some of those meetings, we were saying this stuff, whether it was just they thought, yeah, you know, this is what people say every time. I don't know. Did you get that feeling?
Could be. The frustrating part, as you know, is the problem hasn't been solved. In other words, the hospital was in Air, Nashoba, actually for 120 years, 60 years at the Nashoba Valley location. And on August 31st, it closes. Huge loss, 600 jobs to the region. And then now the pressure that puts on the EMS system, and as you know, a lot of it is funneling down to Leominster Hospital.
Everywhere.
And it's a desert out there right now.
We're calling for a backup to the backup to
Yeah.
the backup. It's like,
Right.
I'm seeing stuff floating around the city. I'm like, what's going on here? But so they closed it. And I think the interesting thing about Nashoba is where it's located. And it's located near, I mean, so obviously it serves Air and Shirley and all that area. But it also is in, like, towards Groton. Is that where, if I kept going down that road,
Yes,
do I
it's
eventually
right-
go into
right on the Groton line, yep.
So there's a capture area there. So the area that it serves is fairly big.
Yeah, it captures, like, once you go past the hospital, you're in Groton, you know, the next house after that. So it's right at the town line, but it services everybody in that area, primarily up to the New Hampshire border, you know, along the 119 corridor south. Yeah, and like once it closed, nobody really knew what was going to happen. And the first 2 weeks, it was not sustainable. It was like, we can't do this because, you know, our budgets was set, what we had
Right.
for, you know, what the model we worked for, you know, decades, it wasn't working. Like, we had no personnel left in Air. We're doing 12 or 16 mile trips, you know, to the hospital.
Right. When you've got it all set like us, and I think the chief will tell you, you know, we look at response times, and we're like constantly trying to get better at. In fact, the chief moved around where our ambulances and paramedics were stationed, you know, based on calls, and to see we get a better response time, and so we get this thing like, but now everybody's response time is affected by this.
Right.
Not just Air or Shirley, even ours, chief, right? I mean,
Yeah, correct.
sometimes we're looking for backups because we went to back
Yeah.
up somebody else.
Yeah, we call mutual aid basically on a daily basis. And sometimes during the peak hours, mid-afternoon or late morning.
Accident on 190.
Yeah, we could be in Lunenburg helping them. They're in Fitchburg. Then we need to call Fitchburg or Sterling. And
They're calling MedStar.
yeah.
MedStar doesn't have anybody available.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I've heard some of these small towns calling the next town over, sorry, we don't have anybody. You know, I guess it must be a mutual aid station or Central
Yeah.
Mass something. And you're like, how about this town? And they're like, no, we don't have anybody. We're over here. And like, time is going by here before they can get somebody. And I know they'll send an engine out or whatever, but
Yeah.
we're looking for paramedics and EMS people.
So one of the important things I wanted to mention was we talk about the EMS and the ambulances and the long response times, but what has happened is the departments of Air and Shirley and Groton, they have 4 or 2 people on duty. Is if their transport times are going to Leominster
Right.
Hospital,
Right.
they have no
Or
firemen left.
Emerson.
Yeah, they have no
in
firefighters
traffic.
left in the community.
Oh,
Right, the fire
Yeah,
coverage.
explain that one more time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
the
so-
smaller town, the EMS people might be the same people that are.
They are. I mean,
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Tammy
They
wants to
often
talk
are.
about his community, but Air has 4 people on duty, and if both of their ambulances are transporting to either Emerson or Leominster, there's no more fire protection in the city. So he attempts to call off-duty people in, but because it's happening so often,
That's got to be a budget breaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that, and on the other side of that is nobody comes back. So we might not have anybody. We rely solely on mutual
Somebody
aid.
else is somewhere else.
'cause-
They started something,
Yep.
taking their kid to work.
Even today, they're both
School
out.
or something.
Even today, they're both out. And I'm like, well, where's the other ambulance? I look, and they went to Newton Wellesley. You know what I mean? So they're out of the loop for a couple hours.
Caller,
you know?
welcome to the show.
Excuse me, can I interject?
Yes.
I'm calling about the signs I see going up in Leominster about the racetrack.
Yeah, well, it's the fairgrounds, but part of it is
Well, is
racing.
it, I would like to clarify something.
What?
Is it a gambling and betting establishment that they're putting there?
Yes, on the other side, I don't know if you've seen sort of online gaming, but it's like the thing now.
Yeah, well,
Right.
isn't fairgrounds kind of deceptive practice? Because when I think of fairgrounds, I think of Bolton Fairground, Bolton. But that's not a gambling and betting effect.
Well, they're doing 2 weekends a year, 3 races, 6 races, from what I understand, and then it's open to. And the reason they call it fairgrounds is that's 6 races, 2 weekends, and basically what they've said as part of their proposal, from what I understand, is, and then do what you want. If you want to have horse showing, if you want to have 4-H club, if you want to have. I'm sorry?
In the inside, is there going to be sports betting also?
There's going to be a separate facility where Crossroads is. One of those buildings is going to be sports betting or betting. I'm not a bettor. I never bought a lottery ticket. I know very little about this, but yeah.
Is it on the site of the old dump?
Is it what?
Is it on the site of the old
No.
dump where they dumped all those chemicals?
No.
No?
No, it's in the Crossroads. You know where Crossroads buildings are?
Is that where Fidelity Bank is?
No. No, it's further down on Mechanic Street. There's 2 buildings there. It's called Crossroads, and it's where Piccolomondo is. There's a couple businesses there.
It's closer to Gold Farm.
Yes, and one of those buildings would be restaurants, or or I guess you kind of eat. I don't know the particulars about that. Like I said, never. I walked through a casino once because Ace Armstrong got an award, and I never played. I walked right by 600 machines. I walked into the convention center. I went into the convention center, and everybody's like, "How'd you do that?" I'm like, "I walked by every single machine to get to the event." So that's.
I'm just concerned because I see the city going in a direction I don't like, and there's a lot of traffic, all over Leominster. And I hear sirens all day long, which I never used to hear as much. So I'm just calling in today. I wanted to clarify. So it's going to be a betting facility.
There's nothing on the land.
It's not going to be a fairground per se. When I think of fairgrounds, I think of going to amusement park type thing.
No amusement park. No lights. No lights, no nights, no baseball games. There was going to be 35 baseball games there when we proposed the baseball field. None of that. No loudspeakers, no concerts. In other words, it's just what I said. What they've said to us thus far is we're going to use it. We're going to use it 2 weekends a year. And then if you want to bring something in, I don't know, the 4-H club, or you want to bring in if you want to bring in an old tractor show, much like a lot of the other fairgrounds do, that's not sort of intrusive, and fine, it's sitting there.
But do you think that's good for this area where it's so congested? Route 2 is a mess most of the time.
Well, they're not proposing to use it. From what I've seen, they're not proposing to use it. So the congestion on Route 2 isn't on Saturdays and Sundays, unless there's an accident or something. So they're proposing it. They're weekends. I think they're weekends, and not Tuesday or Thursday.
Every day. I mean, you just were talking about how the ambulance and EMTs can't get through to anything.
Well,
now you're suggesting putting more congestion.
Well, traffic isn't the same on Tuesday as it is on Saturday. It just isn't. You can look at all the traffic reports; they're not the same. So, anyway, the city will get a chance to whatever they present inside the agreement at a draft form, is that we get a chance to review everything. So we get a chance.
The EPA coming in to test that area too?
What's that?
The EPA, the environmental.
DEP monitors the site constantly. One of the first things I did when I got elected is cap the landfill and then build a gas collection system. We built a gas collection system. It did not collect enough gas to burn from methane from the landfill, so we literally ran regular gas because the system didn't have a hold and burn. We literally ran a at line over to the flare so it would run when there wasn't enough methane. Now there's a new system across the street over there at the up at the wastewater treatment plant. So everything is on file with the DEP. So you can go to, I believe it's all on their website, But yes, it's monitored. DEP monitors it, and we get a report, and we have to send in reports. And
Well, how many years is this going to be? I noticed Gardner and up in Western Mass didn't want this gambling site in their areas either. So that's what I was questioning.
Yeah.
Because they're making it sound like it's a real wholesome thing, and I don't find gambling wholesome.
It ain't going to be everybody's cup of tea. Like I said, you know, the gambling referendum went to vote here in Leominster. It won by 62%, and you know, and honestly, I probably never would have walked inside. I probably went for the grand opening, and that would have been it. It's not my cup of tea. So, but anything they propose, we have the right to hire at their expense our own companies to review everything, and that means traffic. It means anything. Look at all the reports from DEP. I'm not a traffic expert, but we would hire somebody to look at eventually they're going to propose this officially to the city council. The city has the right then to do a peer review. It's the same thing that we did at Walmart. A lot of the projects in the city, we have a right to peer review, and we do. And we get a chance to comment and look at what they're proposing. And after they propose it, we get to do our own reports. And then at the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision on.
And you don't think this will bring in more crime to the city?
I can only tell you that I've talked to some of the people who have horse racing and casinos, and they say this stuff is so, call yourself. I don't want to be the expert on this stuff. That's why I say, we'll hire somebody to look at all this. You make it, call Plainville and ask them call the town manager or the police department and ask them. I mean, the people that I talk to are like, this stuff is under so much security that there ain't nobody hanging around. There's, I don't know. I don't have all the answers to.
Money up in Springfield on those casinos they put in. They can't even keep them full.
I don't know that for a fact. I don't say anything unless I only say things that I know about. And if I don't know, then that's why there would be a peer review on the traffic. That's why there would be a peer review on the environment. On whether or not you can get cancer from watching 6 races a year. I don't know. I don't answer to any of those things. And those are all things that the city has the right to do under the agreement, just like we had with Walmart. And we had with that whole developer at New England Development, we had the same sort of agreements with them. We had the same agreement.
I'll let you take some other calls,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, same agreement we had with a lot of these big projects is we had the right to hire people to go out and do peer reviews because we're not experts, and they come back and tell us. And there'll still be people who won't be happy with the peer review. I mean, that's life. You're like, oh no, that's not a good one. Your cousin owns the business. So I heard that's always going to happen. That's never going to be the case. Anyway, back to the issue of our EMS system here, and that was my opinion that every time something comes up, it's like, oh, the world's going to fall. It's falling. I mean, the sky's falling.
Yep.
And let's talk a little bit about what's been proposed because. Some of you got together, put a committee together. You've been meeting. The governor appointed a group to make some recommendations on if obviously they can't reopen the hospital overnight. I think it's safe to say that UMass is looking at the potential for I don't know if that's like public information that's sealed. That's for sure.
No.
But they're looking at maybe opening an emergency room. But in the meantime, let's talk about what you've proposed as a group.
Sure. So let's start with the EMS piece maybe, and we have the experts here with the chiefs. As you know, Mr. Mayor, back in December, we met here in Leominster. All of the chiefs of the region came together, and based on their work, we estimate that we would need approximately $9.1 million over the next 2 fiscal years just to shore up the EMS system in the Nashoba Valley.
1.9 million.
9.1 million.
9.1 million. Just to fill those gaps that right now it's, can I use the word chaotic right now? It's chaotic.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, capital C.
I don't want to use, I
So-
don't want to say anything that's not.
And this came from a lot of hard work from the chiefs.
Yeah.
So 9.1 million over the next 2 fiscal years, whether it's federal or state resources, because the system is cracking. Not the personnel, to make that very clear. These guys and gals do the best. But over time, it's not sustainable without some type of influx of funding. And so that request has been put forth to the state, and we're waiting on that piece. So there's the EMS component to it. Then there is the hospital piece, which many of us, the ideal approach would be to return the emergency room to the Nashoba Valley Medical Center as the first piece, and then over time phase back, elements to that. It's a 32-acre campus. It has been a hospital for 60 years. About 6 months ago, it had all of the infrastructure.
Right.
The problem is that it's owned by Apollo Management, a $300 billion equity real estate firm. And from what we understand, because we don't have all the details because of non-disclosure agreements, UMass stepped up and made a good, bold-faced effort to try to go back there with the emergency room. The problem is that a deal couldn't be reached with Apollo. And I've said this publicly, I'll say it again. My position is many of us were pushing that would like the governor to exert some leadership in funding, which she had indicated back in October when she came to AIR, to make that deal happen, because that's the optimal location. However, UMass is moving with a plan to put a satellite emergency facility in Groton on 119, the former Deluxe Neb's site.
So it would be an emergency room kind of
So
thing?
a satellite emergency room,
SEF,
it's called an SEF. So it's a 24/7, it has all of the services of an emergency room.
So there's certain certification, right? Certain standards you have to meet to
Correct.
have an emergency room.
Yeah.
We'll
Correct.
meet those.
Correct. And again, they can hold, as I understand it, and they can keep people there for up to, say, 22 hours or so. It's not an inpatient,
Right.
so they'd still have to be transported out. But it would be a full emergency room. And that was one of the findings of the working group as an approach, as an initial step. Many of us had hoped it would come back to the Nashoba site because there's an opportunity to further expand there.
Right. So that would take care of some of the problem.
That's a piece of it.
But let's
right.
talk about our transports now. We used to bring everybody to Leominster, and they would assess them in Leominster. And oftentimes they'd be like, you know what, let's get them to the cath lab. So we wasted all that time bringing them to Leominster just to have them say, you know what, they have all the signs of a blockage or whatever. We can't do that here. We don't have a cath lab. So then we bundle them all up, either put them on a helicopter, or now we head down to Worcester.
Yeah.
Today that's changed, Chief. How's that changed here, at least in the city?
So in Leominster, we have the paramedics, which the Air Fire Department is a paramedic, and they're allowed to do interventions out in the field and then bypass an emergency room for a STEMI, heart attack, or bad trauma or whatever. I think
And then bring them right to Worcester.
right to Worcester.
But that, again, slows down our time that we can recover and get back to
Yeah.
Leominster.
So we could have someone having a heart attack that has a STEMI in the parking lot of the hospital, and the paramedic, the best treatment is to bypass the emergency room at Leominster Hospital and bring them to Worcester.
Right.
So you're talking an hour and a half transport turnaround time that we're without that ambulance.
And Chief, what happens in air?
Yeah, so
You're downtown, you're at the train station, some comes off the train station and
so
holding
just
their
look at it
chest.
from air. 72% of our transports went to Nashoba. Other than that, we follow the protocols. As the chief said,
Yep.
they could be a STEMI. So in air, we have two choices. We can go to Lowell General, which we go to, or we can go to Worcester. Those are our two choices.
But that's
there.
a haul.
Well, it's a haul.
There's no easy way from
there's
there
no easy way
to get to Worcester.
You know,
got to come back to go. You can't
Yeah.
start taking 111 and go through Bolton. And,
Yep, and trauma either goes to Worcester or now down to Leahy and Burlington. So those are our two choices for me. And it's kind of a 50-50 split. You can base that on traffic too. So that's just, so most of our time is we were always around to handle the next call. You know, occasionally. Now we're never around.
Right.
Almost 70% of our calls are hopping on Route 2 and coming to Leominster. The other 30% are all broken up between Emerson. We go to Clinton. We go to St. Joe's and Nashua. As I told you, we went to Newton Wellesley today. So that's what we're faced against. And our model was based on, you know, us having a hospital in town, and we were available for the call.
You built your system around
and
that.
we built. That's what we built it around. Our budgets were set when the hospital closed. So now, us amongst all the other communities are struggling to do that. And one would think it was just our geographical area. Well, guess what? When you get all those towns from Air to Shirley to Devens coming up Route 2, even Groton, and going into Leominster, what's that do to your cities, Fitchburg, Leominster? Well, they
Peeling
pull up
off
and
of
they're
that.
like, hey, what are these ambulances from Air, Shirley, and Devens doing here? Where they would normally be able to pull up. And we all have slower and busier times, but it tends to be busier more than slower, especially for, you know, us coming back towards this way more often.
And then I'm listening to the radio, and I can't believe how many ambulance calls, I don't know how many, at the prison.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's no easy picnic. You got to get into the facility, and I'm sure there's security center around that. You've got to bring guards with you. They either come to Leominster, same thing, they either come to Leominster. But a little town, isn't that Shirley that would get dispatched or something?
Shirley
I
would,
mean,
yeah.
They have a great department with some great, you know, employees, but what's their turnaround time to get back to Shirley? So I'm sure any other call, how many ambulances do they run in Shirley?
They have two, but
Right.
one primary, one
Right.
primary.
So once that ambulance is tied up with a prisoner, going to wherever hospital they're going to, that pretty much leaves them out.
Correct.
So now they're going to call for mutual aid for any other call that they might have.
And another component is the smaller communities like a Shirley or a Groton, they're at the BLS level. So
They don't have paramedics.
They don't have paramedics. So most of their transports would be to Nashoba. And the time would allow them to transport at the BLS level. Now, because they have longer transport times, some of their patients that could have been transported at BLS require ALS paramedics.
Now you got to wait for a paramedic.
You got to get fire is the paramedic provider in that area. So now they're getting more calls for service to do paramedic service with a longer transport time, turnaround time.
And I'm not sure in each individual city or town, but all our firefighters are EMTs.
Correct.
But not all firefighters are paramedics. And I'm not sure, some towns it's not a requirement, but for us it is. And so let's get into and this is, none of this is scare tactics. We're talking all data here. This is all data saying this is how it used to be. And after the hospital closed, August 31st, 2024, this is the new, and it's not normal. It's
Right.
It's well, number one, if somebody calls 911 and they're sick, what we won't want people to do is to drive yourself to the hospital if you got a stomach bug or whatever. I mean, you know, but if somebody's sick and you need attention and you think, I need to call for some help, the worst thing is to probably try to get in your car or drive somebody to the hospital. That's probably not going to be the best thing. It's the best thing is, so if they don't have an ambulance that they can send, they'll send an engine or someone from the fire department until they can get somebody. At least they can start with some medical assistance on the way, right? Start administering, whether it's an accident or a heart attack or whatever it might be. Gather the information, help treat the person until the paramedics can get there. But is that pretty much consistent across the board where
Correct,
we're going to
yeah.
send
even
if it's a ladder, we're going to send it out. And that's just,
Correct.
the way it's going to be.
And some of the figures, the data figures, when the governor came up, is that area, that hospital serviced 150,000 population in the Nashoba Valley.
Yeah. Huge.
So some are going to Emerson, and a big portion are coming to Leominster. But as you and I know, is Burbank closed. This is what we try to tell the governor was.
Yeah.
Burbank closed for Fitchburg.
Right.
And then Fort Devens had Cutler Army Hospital that took care of Devens. Now they have the federal prison. We have the state prison. We have no Cutler Army Hospital. We have no Burbank
Where's
Hospital.
the people from the federal prison go?
To Leominster.
They come to Leominster.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then now you've closed Nashoba, and Leominster is getting bigger, but not to the point where it can handle that amount of traffic.
When we started, there were how many rooms at the 6, I think, or 7, I don't know. And I'm up there now, and let me tell you, there is nobody hanging around up at the emergency room.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody. If they're eating. They've got a dead at the terminal in front of them, and they're trying to eat while they're entering information in. There's nobody hanging around. But I think people have to understand that this just has that boomerang effect. I mean, it's got a multiplier to it. So you close the hospital, that's one thing, but there are so many other pieces of this, and I'm sure the doctors have had to relocate in some situations. So, you know, now we're into transportation and everything. So none of this is scare tactics. This is all just data, looking at the data. Well, maybe the hospital closed and it didn't really have much of an effect, but it did. And it's sort of what we predicted, only probably worse. In terms
I
of
think
the
that's
EMS
one of the
system.
things that came out of that working group is, you know, for the region it was like healthcare for all. Well, there's a certain demographics that they serve that was all leaving, you know, because the facility was leaving. The physicians and doctors, their primary care, their specialties. So some of them are hung around, but, you know, if nothing happens at the hospital, how long do they stay? And what that does is that empties out the region even more. You know, some people struggle trying to just get a primary care physician in the area, you know. So that's one less since August, that's one less area, you know, we have to offer that. And that's something I think the working group come up with. And another part of that, too, come out of that was all the veterans, as Chief Sideleau, like all the veterans that hospital served once they cut colors. So now where do they go? They go to a system that's already maxed out, even harder for to get. They have older people, now you want them to drive longer distances, which they might not, you know, feel comfortable doing that.
And a system that the area, this whole central Massachusetts area, built based on the recommendations from the so-called experts as to this is the new healthcare system. This is how we're going to treat people. And so we go ahead and build this system at taxpayers' expense and people that pay insurance on it. And we build this system, and it took us a while to get, you know, the chief and the deputies and members of the fire department came up with a really reasonable plan so that we could get paramedics. Because, as you know, you just can't say, well, we're just going to hire 10 people or 5 people or 2 people. So the way we did it, we kind of phased it in to get it. It was a great plan, and we stuck by it. But that's not even sufficient anymore for us.
No.
And now it's just unaffordable to. So with just 15 minutes left here at Inside Leominster, give us a call if you have any questions, 978-534-1626. So where are we going now? Where's the snapshot of where we are today? And I know, look, the governor walked through the door. She's got this housing issue. Revenues are down. I get it. I totally get it. I know. And then the hospital closes. You know, you're getting pulled in from all ends. Totally get it. I totally understand. She got trouble with some other hospital somewhere, and you know, this is a big issue. So where do we stand today? I mean, the legislature, are they moving in a direction where?
Unfortunately, it's been just over 6 months since Nashoba closed, and in many ways, we're no better off from the time of the closure. Specifically, as mentioned, we're seeing the EMS system as it stands needs an influx of resources, whether from the federal or state, and the situation on the federal scene doesn't look too good. The state scene, we've made this request for funding there. As Chief Sideleau mentioned, this region is just losing everything and nothing is being replaced. You know, Burbank, and it goes over history, but Burbank, Cutler, the maternity, and the state knows this, but there's nothing being
and we're burning people out.
And it's not
burning people out.
Mayor, it's not sustainable.
No.
And the concerning thing is that we do need the state to act on some level. The state is aware of these problems, but hasn't acted. And you know, the satellite emergency proposal from UMass Memorial, we applaud UMass Memorial for stepping up. They're a nonprofit.
They can't do everything.
They can't do everything.
Right. I mean, they water themselves down too thin, and then they can't perform. Right.
But the governor is aware of this, put together a working group, which we've been very vocal about for 6 months. UMass is stepping up, and it's anticipated, assuming all goes as planned, it's still going to be another 2 years before the SEF is up.
Yeah.
And the state dissolved the working group on March 19th and has sort of gone back to Boston. And the concern is we need the state as an active partner to come up with some other solutions on this.
But we have some, this isn't just a Senate district that affects one district or representatives. There are a ton of them. And they all showed up to speak.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming they get some clout together as a group that they have some clout that they can hopefully get to the president and the speaker and say, look, I mean, clearly here, this is, this isn't, somebody yelled fire in a crowded movie theater. This is not scare tactics. This is for real.
We were hoping during the supplemental budget process for the state that we would get money to help us get through the rest of this year. And it has been...
the fiscal year.
This fiscal year.
So we're only talking 3 or 4 months. Just help us get through there.
Yeah, so that was disappointing. So the hope now is that, maybe through programs like this and our tenacity is we can get money for next year. But like when the governor came, I was one of the first ones to speak, and I said, we need help. Yeah. We need help. And as a fire chief, we run the EMS in the fire, and tried to impress that the EMS, we can't do it with private company because we do both roles. So when we're busy doing EMS, our fire, the lack of fire protection. And
the private companies are getting kind of worn down too, right? They stopped doing some transports because they don't have the people to do it.
Yeah,
they're spread out in a million directions.
And then in this area, in the valley, is Devon's. That's all manufacturing, commercial, and all of their fire protection is counted on for insurance purposes. Right. So we see it as a domino effect. Is if there's a large building lost fire and the insurance companies look into it, and we're all on EMS.
They drop your rate,
and then the rates go up. The economy, it affects the economy. So it's multifaceted how it affects all of And the last thing I want to say was the hospital closed not because of lack of business or they weren't turning a profit. It was mismanagement.
Right.
So they allowed crooks to close this hospital, steal it, but the state. There's nothing from the state to resurrect it. Right. It's not like they're going to have to resurrect it and support it forever. It'll support itself. It's just we need to get it up and going. And I'm concerned from Leominster because we see the impact on those departments, and it is affecting us because we have to assist them more. So
I think the last time I was at the hospital, our hospital was talking about making some changes and adding some beds and something. And I got up and I said, I'm the biggest critic about closing the baton. I have my own opinions about this, but I've always had. I think I counted 7 of our family members were up there for something, either emergency room or ended up getting admitted within the last 30 days of when I was speaking. I said, look, we've got nothing but excellent attention, and everyone cares, and it's a good thing. So take my comments and funnel them towards. I think you blew it when it came to that. In this case, it's not the docs, it's not even, it's the management of the operation here, and now we're all penalized by it. And there's, the FDIC would jump in if your money, if a bank closed or they stole all the money, FDIC would jump in and say, well, we've got this little fund set aside, but there's no fund for closed hospitals or to help out, in emergency situations. So,
well, there was for a bunch of other hospitals in the state.
Well,
except Nashoba and the county in Boston. And the county in Boston's in an area where there was enough hospitals
already around
it. Yeah. And it was like, so Nashoba's like odd man out.
Well, I didn't want, and the reason I invite you on is I didn't want anyone in the area who might watch this, or it's another cable group takes this and shows it in Yarrow, Groton, or whatever, that this group isn't continuing to fight to keep advocating for this. But I didn't want you to think that they stopped doing their job or there's some sort of a work slowdown at all. Yeah. They're going to answer the call. The 911 call comes in somehow or another. We're going to get you an ambulance. But it isn't the perfect situation that they all work together to create. And they work real hard to address all the needs of this whole area here. And that's been something that's been going on for a whole long time. And now it's been just cannibalized and it's disrupted. And I see ambulances all over. Like you said, I went to the hospital the other day in the ER. I'm like, holy Toledo.
From all over.
There's 6 different ambulances from 6 different towns. And that didn't even count. Devon's was just showing up, just coming in. And so I thank you. We'll have you on again. And as we get updates, let me know. I'll be glad to share them here. But thank you for the work that you're doing. I mean, it's beyond your control now, and now it's up to other people to step up to get that money appropriated so we can get hopping. We're taking a short break here at Inside Leominster. We'll be right back with more pizza.
the community of Leominster. It's great. Everything's close by. It's clean. The police force is great. They do a good job. They do a great job, those guys. Fire department, excellent guys. There's no complaints. The mayor does a great job. People are nice. The schools are great. And I think everybody's happy with the town. I've been working with this over 40 years. It's not about work anymore. We work with the people now. I got some great people. I got some great crew here. Customers are great. I'm seeing customers, kids now. If that tells you anything. But you're seeing some younger people coming by. I'm seeing grandkids as customers now. That's always fun. That's a big part of it now.
All right, welcome to the Pizza Crawl. We are at Athens on Central Street. This is the first place that we're visiting, so I'm very excited to dig in. And as you can see, there's a bunch of cheese. It's just gushing with it. Lots of personality to the slice. Isn't she beautiful? And without further ado, I'm gonna dig in. So there's a lot of cheese to this slice. And I'm gonna take another bite to give some more description. Just a second here. But that cheese is balanced out perfectly by a nice saucy undertone. And I'm just loving how airy and cloudy this slice is. Now that's a good slice of pizza. I'll see you guys at the next place.
There you go. He does a great job with this stuff. I think we should make him like the official food taster here at Inside Leominster. We'll have him go out and visit a different restaurant every week. And hey, free food. And go out and give us his feedback as to what's happening in the culinary world. And he does a great job. Anyway, thanks to the town administrator and air and the chief of the air and our fire chief for coming on and just sort of explaining all of that. And it is challenging. I watch them, I listen to them all the time. I'm like, oh man. And but they're gonna listen. They're gonna do everything they possibly can to accommodate everybody. What's going on?
Valerie's gonna be your.
All right, let's go right to pictures of the week, I guess, and because we don't have much time, and so we want to get. So anybody else? I know that some people are interested in the fairgrounds, and they've asked to reschedule. So it's not like they're not going to come on. And I said, okay, that's fine. Whatever is helpful to get information out. And I think people at this point are looking for information. All right, let's go back. All right, let's go pictures of the week, please. There we were, Massachusetts Heroes. There's the unveiling of the new logo and banner. And the new coach coming in from Texas. Very excited. Good guys, bringing his family out here to the city of Leominster. So we welcome them all. The Massachusetts Heroes Football League will be playing June 6th over there at the Wallace Civic Center. Next slide, please. DPW is working on Hamilton Street and Crawford Street, setting up a sewer bypass for pump station repairs. We are just about everywhere in the city right now. It is construction season, officially. Next slide. Prospect Park works. Prospect Park, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most unappreciated, but one of the, what I have stuff on my nose or something?
Oh, no, I have an itchy beard.
Oh, you have an itchy beard, okay. All this recycled paper towels and stuff, it falls, I don't have a problem with recycled, but the stuff falls apart.
It's the paper pulp.
Paper pulp. And this is one of the most unappreciated but unknown parks. But we're going to get a chance. We're really going to let people know when the renovations are done to the park how beautiful a park this really is.
Should we do a tour?
We'll definitely do a tour. Next slide, please. Central Street project has started. This is a $31 million project here in the city of Leominster. Starts down by Tossey Drive, Meteor Drive, and it goes all the way to Sterling. And it's a complete rebuild of that roadway there. So some delays, but that's why the 4 years is there, because of bad weather that we might have through the winters. But it's a big project. And you know what? Cities across the state are fighting for projects like this. And here we are. We're on our fourth major multi-million-dollar project. So patience. Next slide, please. DPW worked for days on repairing this sewer on Eden Glen. Some of these things are more challenging. You get into the ground, they're older areas. You start running into old pipes and wires and culverts that you never knew were there. And so thank you to the DPW for sticking with it till they could solve the problem. Go ahead. And the Leominster High School fields are underway. And they're very meticulous. I got to say, the contractor thus far, I'm pretty impressed with them. They're bringing equipment all the time. They want to get hopping. They're de-stumping right there, as you can see. They're going to end up taking material out of there. And so it's on its way. And the Leominster Farmers Market. I got to tell you, it's more than a farmers market. There are lots of vendors. It's a fun night when we have it on Thursday. So I will just tell you that, yeah, I mean, the next one's coming up in April. We'll let you know well in advance. And I might just say, it's happening in Leominster if you do Facebook. It's happening in Leominster as a site. If not, you go to our website. Our website has everything on it, leominster-ma.gov. Demo on 208 Pleasant Street starts on Monday. I know there were a number of reporters that called me and said, you know, we want to get down there. And it's bittersweet. This family was very content living there. They're nice people, super nice people. And then all of a sudden, everything in the world changed. And anyway, a great event with CPAC. They had Touch a Truck, lots of people, lots of vendors. It's well, anything CPAC does is very organized and done well. And so thank you to CPAC, all volunteers, and reaching out to all these different agencies, and everybody had a ball. And congratulations to Lieutenant Mike Ciccolini. I didn't know he was this old enough to retire, but after 30 years, he's retiring from the Leominster Police Department. I remember we hired him. I remember we appointed him, and I'm like, wow, didn't he just start? I'd say that about everybody. All right, I think we're out of time, so we're going to have to review everything. But I will tell you that St. Anna's tomorrow night is their fish night. It's their Lenten dinners, but they also have mac and cheese and other things if you're not a fish eater, 4 to 7 o'clock, and that's the way it goes. All right, we're out of time Inside Leominster. Thanks for watching. Good night, God bless you. Remember, the world is run by those who show up. Thanks for showing up. Good night.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank, create success, enterprisebanking.com.
This is LTV.
This is a deadly proposal to have this to come to Leominster. I love Leominster. I think everybody in here loves Leominster, and that's why we're here.